Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I am of course back for some more of yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Banjo-Kazooie for the Nintendo 64/Xbox systems, like, you know, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and you name the rest. So, last time we have managed to able to defeat Gruntilda once and for all, and yeah, that was actually an awesome battle, despite I did manage to get hit quite a few times, mainly due to the most annoying meteorite attack, but apart from those side of things though, it's actually not too bad of a battle. Speaking of such though, is the fact that, well, Gruntilda, she's pretty much going to be stuck in here for the longest amount of time, so seriously, that was the most devastating death I've ever seen. So anyway, today for this particular episode is that this is going to be the extra video from the likes of Banjo-Kazooie, and what do I mean by that? Well, as you can see on screen, I'm going to be heading back into the forms of Spiral Mountain, and what do I mean by that? Well, as you can tell, I'm heading straight into the forms of Banjo's house, and meaning about the fact that, well, there's going to be some sort of like a secret thing has been involved, which, well, we'll point it out whenever we get inside, and, well, we're now able to actually explore inside Banjo's house. So, yeah, it seems pretty awesome, all things considered. Like, you got these familiar picture frames of Banjo and Kazooie, in addition to that familiar beach from the likes of the 100% completion of the game, alongside with 2D as well, but there's also this secret, Bottles picture. Oh yeah, you found my secret moving picture game. Complete this puzzle and you can win a mystery prize. It better be good, Sunbrain. So, either way though, when you're able to go in a first-person view, and then if you manage to go straight onto the forms of the Bottles picture, this will actually gives you the actual special minigame, which appears to be inserting those, puzzles back into its place. So, I believe there are about 7 of these, so either way though, I'm just gonna show you guys every single one of those puzzle challenges basically, and your objective is pretty simple, is you'd have to able to fill up each space, and here's the catch though, is the fact they need to keep a catch of the forms of the actual footage of the actual the picture itself, that you can able to line up perfectly, or if you don't, then you're gonna have to able to place it someplace else. So, and also during around that time is the fact that you would be able to expect that you get yourself some specific rewards if you manage to accomplish these. Mainly, for example, that if I manage to able to accomplish, excuse me, if I somehow manage to complete this puzzle challenge here, basically I get this little first reward. And that's what it have to be by the forms of, you know, with these little cheat codes that you can able to actually just, you know, actually access to. Like specifically, as what Bottles mentions, the Sand Castle section in Treasure Trove Cove. And basically you have to able to type in specific codes like Bottles Bonus 1 and all the other jazz until whenever you get to the next puzzles later on. So because of this though, yeah, for the most part, I was going to able to show off some of these cheat codes if I somehow managed to able to accomplish these. So, yeah, anyway, a few things we want to explain is the fact that obviously today's day is, of course, the 1st of June today, in this case in 2021. And it looks like we've only got about 11 days to go until specifically this year's E3. So because of this though, I'm still hyped. And also to top it off, some exciting news is also happening as well. Like, I think I forgot to mention about this ever since during the forms of well, I've already mentioned about the forms of something related to Dragon Quest and all that stuff for its 35th anniversary since during the forms of, on Sunday, I'm presuming. But, usually, relatively speaking, it's just the fact the matter is, though, is the fact you have noticed on the forms of the last video, or the previous video, I should say, I simply have to concentrate hard on the final boss, as you guys should know. But, yeah, let's get to the main treatment of the table when it comes to this discussion. That is the fact that, yes, the Sonic Central has been up from ever since in 27th of May. And I'm gonna say, I'm actually really impressed with this. Even though it almost feels kind of similar to the forms of how it does it on Super Mario Bros. 35th Anniversary Direct, except the fact that it's all around Sonic's 30th anniversary, which, that seems kind of a little bit more obvious for that fact. And, well, as you can tell already, is the fact that, well, before I get into more details about that, as you can tell that we now moved on to the next environment, which appears to be based off from Rusty Bucket Bay. Actually, kind of think about it. Speaking of those environments from those little picture puzzle mini game that you have to go through, as I said before, there are 7 of these. So because of that, though, the first one is obviously you able to go and deal with, you know, inside Banjo's house, and the second one is actually based off from Freezy Peak in the Igloo section. And this one is obviously based off from Rusty Bucket Bay. And I think the 4th one is actually related to Click Clockwood. And as far as the 5th one is concerned, I would say Bubblegum Swamp. And the 6th one is going to be based off from Mad Monster Mansion. And the 7th and the final one, which is actually going to be based off from the likes of the inside the Beehive in Click Clockwood. So, which you see what I mean whenever we get into the forms to the latest progressionings for those puzzle challenges, as you can see. Even though, unfortunately for me, I'm having a bit of a rough run on this this puzzle challenge here, mainly it's because I couldn't even tell if it's gonna be like some dark patches here and there. So because of this though, yeah, if you don't fill up the puzzle in during time though, then obviously we'll get ourselves a massive thumbs down. But luckily we can able to try again, because otherwise you do have multiple attempts. So, and while we're at it though, you have to deal with the time limits, by the way. So, yeah, that's something worth noting for. Oh yeah, at some point or another, it's the fact that some of these puzzle pieces might actually start to rotate a bit, meaning about the fact that you're gonna have to rotate the piece before you're able to actually insert the picture. So, by simply able to actually use the right analog stick or the right thumbstick, at least it's specifically what that controller stick is called, basically is that you're gonna have to rotate it, so... Yeah, anyway, let's get to the actual main treatment of discussion, and that was the fact that, yes, they have some pretty cool announcements in regards to the forms of Sonic Central, or in this case, the Sonic the Hedgehog Direct. First of all, they did mention about the fact that, well, there's going to be an alternate costume avatar from the likes of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, or specifically the official game, we're able to feature Sonic's outfit, which, this seems pretty cool, because obviously that game will be made by Sega, of course, and, another thing that has been out, or another thing has been announced, and that is actually kind of a hyped thing for me, because after all, that I'm still a huge fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog stuff, and that is, get this, is that I think Sony already noticed by now, that Sonic Colors Ultimate is now finally coming. So I first thought it's going to be a fake, but it turns out it is real, meaning about the fact that for the first time ever for the Microsoft and the Sony players, now finally able to experience Sonic Colors for reals. So it's no longer going to be on Nintendo exclusive platforms, I don't think. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. And as far as I'm aware, it's the fact that it was going to come out on not only on the PlayStation 4, but Xbox One and Nintendo Switch, obviously. PC from the likes of the Epic Store, much like in certain Kingdom Hearts games on PC. And also, get this, the Xbox Series X, or Series S. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, all things considered. And as far as the release date for Sonic Colors Ultimate, it's gonna come out until the 7th of September. And as far as you guys should already know, ever since Journey forms of the Sonic fans like myself, I'm obviously going to be going through every single version of, you know, Sonic Colors Ultimate. I might actually start things off with the PS4 version first, just in case for some trophy support. And as far as the Switch version is concerned, I'm not exactly sure about that yet, because I'm not exactly sure if we might able to do that Let's Play of Sonic Colors Ultimate, despite the fact that it plays out exactly the same as the forms of how it does in the original version of the game on the Nintendo Wii. Well, aside from the fact that the visuals are really gorgeous this time around, which, because that was on the forms of, well, back in the forms of the Wii version, basically, it only has, like, 720 to 480p quality standpoint, which, don't get me wrong, it doesn't look that bad, but, I'm very glad that the actual visuals have been, like, slightly bit more updated. Well, huge significant upgrade when it comes to visual identity, because it's now in HD, and to top it all off, 60 frames per second, which I was like, that is awesome. Like, even then though, that usually it kind of does the same thing from the likes of how it does in new forms of, well, let's just say in the Sonic generations for PC, and also Sonic Lost World for the Wii U and PC, and also Sonic Forces on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and PC as well, except on the Switch, because it's usually locked in 30 frames per second. Speaking of such though, is the fact that I'm actually kind of curious to see what the actual frame rate will be like. Well, at least depending on what version you'll be getting. Like, for instance, that you notice that we've already come across into several of experiences from the likes of differences between, you know, multiple versions of certain Sonic games, like for instance Sonic Forces and Team Sonic Racing. That's basically if you do manage to able to play the PS4 version or the Xbox One versions of those games, basically it's the fact that it gets like a smooth 60 frames per second, whilst the forms of the Switch version has been locked in 30 frames per second. I'm not exactly sure they might do the same thing for Sonic Colors Ultimate, but we'll definitely see what happens there and during that some point until September. So because of that though, yeah, I'm actually really hyped about that. And also to top it off is the fact that they actually include the new Wisp, which appears to be Jade Ghost. So I think that was actually the second time we were able to see Jade Ghost, because the first time we actually see Jade Ghost, it was on the forms of Team Sonic Racing. So yeah, it's about time to able to actually now have something related to that. So, and yeah, that's about that. And another thing they did announce is these another Sonic compilation game, which this time around though goes back to the past. And that's what appears to be Sonic Origins, which is basically a compilation game from the likes of the classic Sonic games. And unfortunately, that game will be released until 2022, but I'm fine with that. But it usually contains not only Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is pretty obvious, but also, finally, that Sonic CD is now coming. And, to top it all off, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is now finally making its appearance on compilation games this time around, which is pretty damn awesome, because unlike in Sega Mega Drive Classics compilation, or even certain Sega Ages lineup of compilations, or Sega Ages lineup of games, that, for whatever reason, they just don't feel like bothering trying to place Sonic 3 and Knuckles in the actual compilations or for whatever reason, because, well, mainly due to, like, music license issues or something like that, due to Michael Jackson and stuff like that. But I digress. Now, as you can tell right there, we're now on to the final puzzle challenge right here, and this is by far the hardest one of the bunch, because if you couldn't tell already that we actually got ourselves less time compared to the forms of how it does it on the previous 6 puzzles, which meaning about the fact that you notice about the fact that we've already accomplished 6 of the puzzle challenges already, and that usually just managed to give us 100 seconds, whilst compared to this puzzle on the other hand, we actually got less time, which we start the actual puzzle up within like 75 seconds, which is a bit lesser to like some small extent, so... But again, you have to be fast on this though, especially you don't be too slow either, because otherwise if you went too slow, then you might as well fail the challenge and you have to do the entire challenge all over again. Well, thankfully you can able to actually try this puzzle again and again and again if you keep on messing things up. So yeah, that's something worth noting for. So now I kind of got very lucky right there because I know exactly what these pieces are going to be located, even though mind you I've almost going to get myself screwed over for about a few moments notice, especially during the forms of how the fact that as soon as when Banjo is going to walk all the way back to that specific segment on that beehive section, I managed to finish it for about 2 seconds to spare. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. And this will give us the final, you know, cheat code, and that's what appears to be Wishy-Washy Banjo. Fascinating, huh? Even though we'll show that off in just a moment, so I'll meet you guys at Treasure Trove Cove. Alright, we made it onto the forms of Treasure Trove Cove again, and as you can tell, the actual pillar actually shows up, which meaning I'll show that off until later, because, first off, we'll point it out is the fact that, we're able to, excuse me, stupid hermit crab, trying to hit me like that. Whatever, but at least we still got double of the amount of health, so at least that's something, alright, so... Yeah, anyway, basically it's the fact that we're able to actually go into the Sandcastle section, although keep that in mind is the fact that if you haven't been onto this world for quite some time, basically you do need able to refill up the actual bucket again, so yeah, that's something you need to keep an eye out for, so... And I'll try to show you guys the forms of how the fact that with certain cheat codes I managed to able to come across into. Like, I'm gonna do the ones with the Cheeto book first, because obviously I didn't do a Cheeto book code throughout the majority of the playthrough, just because I'm usually up for the challenge, but I'm able to ignore it for the whole time. But since we've actually completed the game, even though it seems kind of pointless now, but at least I can show you guys what the actual code's represented for. So because of that though, yeah, there's not much right to hum about. So yeah, anyway, and there's also another announcement in regards to the forms of Sonic Central. Is of course more merchandises for the 30th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, like necklaces and all sorts of stuff, and also some of these some very cool, well, cool stuff I might add, from the likes of, well, even though it's kind of hard to explain about this sometimes, because as you can tell, I'm usually just gonna have to focusing on the actual cheat codes while I was doing a commentary, but anyway, and I suppose I should probably get into the forms of the final point of the forms of Sonic Central Direct. That's what it appears to be. Yes, a brand new Sonic game is being confirmed. And it's gonna be true, it's gonna come out until 2022, the same year as Sonic Origins. And it's not only gonna come out for the Nintendo Switch, but also for the very first time ever in the Sonic universe, or even the Sonic series as of now, they're now finally gonna be releasing the game on the PlayStation 5. And as well as Xbox Series X as well, so yeah, that seems pretty awesome, all things considered. Now, if you're probably wondering, what is up with that jump code right there? Well, the only reason being for that is because I was able to try to ground pound onto the G letter to try to get the code of gold feathers to able to actually just to get ourselves double the amount of certain ammo counts for, well, let's just say blue eggs, red feathers, as you saw that we actually got double the amount than the forms from before. So naturally, that with these blue eggs, well, originally you'd have to carry up to like, I would say about 100 of them. Whilst in here, well, specifically, if you manage to able to insert blue eggs code, basically your blue eggs counter will double up into 200. And as you can tell, that if you insert the red feathers code, basically, that just managed able to represent where you would be able to actually get, well, normally you give yourselves 50 red feathers, but if you insert the code, you're able to double it up into 100. And as far as gold feathers are concerned, well, basically you normally get 10 gold feathers to hold up with, but then if you insert the code, which is golden feathers, or gold feathers to be more specific, if you insert that, then you get double the amount, and this will give you about 10 more gold feathers, and this will give you 20 gold feathers. So it's pretty rewarding if you manage able to accomplish something like this, especially if you're trying to find, the Cheeto book and stuff like that. So you probably get the idea about that. So anyway, so let's go and insert these secrets here. Oh my god, Banjo's head is huge. It's so weird. But I digress. But in order to deactivate these these bonus cheats, basically you're gonna have to able to type in no bonus, and that's all you would have to do when it comes to like, deactivating these bonuses. And again, to get those bonus cheat codes is the fact that you have to accomplish certain puzzle challenges on that Bottles challenge, puzzle challenges as far as I like to point things out. So yeah, that's how essentially you can get. So again, there are 7 of these, so let's see what bonus Bottles bonus 2 was usually contains. So I bet it'll be something a bit strange. Like, speaking of strange, we have big arms and big foot, or big feet rather, whilst Banjo's head was actually still small. And I was like, oh goodness gracious me. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about the forms of more info about the forms of the new Sonic game is about to be announced or releasing until next year, along the same lines as, well, obviously Splatoon 3, and I'll probably talk more about another game that I'm sure that some Toys else will mention more about it, until whatever when they get into the next new Let's Play and stuff like that. So, But I digress. In addition to coming out on the Nintendo Switch, as well as PlayStation 5, and also Xbox Series X, and even on Xbox One, and even on the PlayStation 4 and PC. So, yeah, that's quite multiple platforms right there. So, yeah, that seems kind of obvious. Oh, by the way, bonus 3 is that Kazooie was actually bigger than Banjo. So, yeah, that seems very, very odd, conveniently enough. And now it's going to move on to the fourth bonus, which the fourth bonus might be a bit odd, but when we get to the final bonus code, then we'll probably show us ourselves some sort of like a secret, which we'll point it out whenever we're able to actually show you guys about this. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day, that what you think about the forms of the Sonic Central Direct, like, you know, with the live stream event. Personally speaking, I think it's really, really damn good. Even just like the forms of how it does it on Super Mario Bros. 35th Anniversary Direct ever since about a year ago. I was really, really hyped about it. Oh, goodness gracious! Banjo is actually almost like a sausage. Or, to be more specifically, he was actually gone a bit lanky and taller looking. That's kind of disturbing, honestly. But, hey, at least we did manage to deactivate that specific cheat off screen. Because, again, to be able to deactivate it is by simply type in no bonus. And that's all you really have to deactivate the actual cheat code. So, but yeah, that's as far as you can get in terms of the forms of what the rewards you can get if you do somehow manage to accomplish the puzzle challenges and what have you. So, yeah, that seems kind of strange, all things considered. So, and I'm guessing the next bonus we're going to be showing off is bonus number 5. So let's see what 5 represents. Oh, goodness gracious! Not only is he taller, but also his fists, well, usually hands and feet, are also big, and his head is even smaller. So, yeah, that's quite odd. And let's move on to the next bonus cheat, which, by the way, unlike the previous 5, that it's important to note is that you need to type in big to begin with this time around, because unlike the previous 5 cheats, that you're simply able to actually just to like spell out bottles bonus and then trying to type in any number like related letters and such, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Whilst the 6th one is the only exception, because you only have to type big bottles bonus, and oh my god, look at Banjo right there! And even especially Kazooie as well, they are way more bigger than ever, and it's super weird. It is, ultimately speaking, super weird. But that's enough about that disturbance, but from now on, let's focusing on the last cheat, which appears to be Wishy-Washy Banjo. So, that particular code I was going to be able to actually entering right now, this might be familiar to you if you guys ever played Banjo-Tooie. Well, the reason why I say that, well, we'll point it out whenever we're able to actually just type the rest of this in. So, yeah, anyway. And, yeah, because, obviously, that it does not have, I would say it doesn't have an X on that specific, little, letters, cheat code right there. So, yeah, that's something it's worth noting for, because that's why it ended up getting, big bottles bonus instead of like bottle bonus 6, so because there was a lack of X. So anyway, when you insert Wishy-Washy Banjo, we ended up transforming into ourselves into a washing machine. So yeah, that seems kind of a secret and weird transformation in the game, despite it doesn't do anything special about it, apart from the fact that whenever you're trying to punch, then the actual door will able to actually open slightly. So, but again, if you ever played Banjo-Tooie before, spoiler warning for those if we're able to get into Banjo-Tooie at some point in September, then this is one of those transformations they're able to actually get it reused from the likes of Banjo-Tooie, even though unlike Banjo-Tooie, it does manage to have more moves as opposed to in here, because obviously it's just all, well, cosmetic and all that stuff, which that's as far as we can say about it for the most part. And let's move on to the next extra thing for this extra video, and as you can tell already, that for that particular jump card from the start, I somehow managed to get into the other file, because, well, for my main file I should say, because it's pretty obvious, because I somehow managed to able to erase two other files, just because I'll show off that until whenever we get to the very end of this extra video. And what do I mean by that? Well, we'll point it out whenever we get into it. But, yeah, as you can tell that my life's counter is reset, so... Yeah, anyway, let's move on to the next extra thing, which appears to be known as Stop and Swap items. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're only able to actually access to a save data on your Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, specifically if you ever played the Xbox systems, basically, Xbox 360 most likely, as well as others, basically it's the fact that if you're able to create your own file on nuts and bolts, you weren't able to actually access to the forms of stop and swap areas. Mainly, for instance, for example, you notice that we've already seen these clips from the likes of whenever you're able to finish the game. Well, this is going to be one of those segments right here. Like, for instance, we need to climb all the way up to the top, and then if we do manage to go all the way up to the top of this particular section over there, basically, in addition to able to actually just to get ourselves into the forms of even more platforming involved, but also get this, is that we get ourselves the forms of one of those special items, which appears to be this pink looking egg. So we're able to obtain that, and let's see what Banjo has to say. Ooh, an egg. That's one of the 7 stop and swap items we've been looking for. I reckon it'll unlock something special in my nuts and bolts adventure. Can't wait. So yeah, that's the only thing about this is that originally, back on the N64 version on Banjo-Kazooie, well, specifically this game, along with Banjo-Tooie, there's actually that special feature called, well, Stop and Swap. Basically, this allows you to able to transfer certain items into one game to the other, which is a pretty cool thing in theory back in the day. But unfortunately though, that feature was scrapped on the N64 version of the game, mainly due to like cartridge limitations or something. But I'm guessing I may be wrong, but either way though, it knows what it is. So, now of course, on the N64 version, you can still able to get these stop and swap items, but it does require a lot of codes. Like, I'll put in a link in the description below if you want to check them out. So, wow, another one of these special stop and swap eggs. Hope this isn't a cruel joke and we can actually use them this time. So yeah, I will show you all 7 of these stop and swap items and the actual locations there are when it comes to those items. That, as you saw, that we already come across into one from the likes of Treasure Trove Cove and another one from the likes of Gorbis Valley that we've already technically seen, well, ever since during the forms of the ending portion of the game. And as well as from that, there's also Freezy Peak, which, if you notice already, that basically we can now able to actually enter this area over there. Meaning about the fact that we can able to obtain the special ice key, which even then though, that could be used for something that's quite valuable. But we're able to obtain that, and let's see what Kazooie has to say. Cool, an enormous ice key. We should keep this stop and swap item for later. Well, yes, that's true, Kazooie, but it wasn't until whenever we get onto Banjo-Tooie that we're able to save that for later, so... Anyway, and there was also, I believe, that in new forms of Mad Monster Mansion, this is the only world to able to feature not 1, but 2 stop and swap items in this world. And then there's also one on Rusty Bucket Bay, and the final one is on Click Clockwood. Although, keep that in mind, that, in Click Clockwood, always be sure you need to able to explore the winter portion of that world, just because, well, unlike the other 3 seasons, the actual egg won't show up at all. So, yeah, that's something worth noting for. So, yeah, that's that. So, yeah, it's kind of a shame that feature was scrapped on the original N64 version of the game. Well, at least you can still technically get them if you're able to insert certain codes from the Sandcastles portion on, you know, Treasure Trove Cove, if you activate them correctly. And I'll put in a link in the description, so just in case I want to let you guys know what the codes are. So, even then though, because, well, some of them might be a bit too much for you. So, either way though, let's just go ahead and get ourselves the next stop and swap item, which is, of course, the Sky Blue Egg, or Light Blue Egg, if I like to say this for this particular color. So, yeah, that seems pretty much obvious what you expected by that point. Now, of course, this stop and swap items will be used from the likes of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which pretty much gives you the ability to able to unlock some more stuff on that game, which I don't feel like I can probably mention about that right now, honestly, just because, well, we're not into that game yet, so yeah, that's the next, you know, stop and swap item. And the final one, as I said, is on Click Clockwork, but again, it needs to be on winter theme, because otherwise spring will not work, summer will not work, and even autumn will not work. So, yeah, that's something worth keeping in mind. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and bust out this window right there, and we'll soon to find the familiar jingle. You know, every time you hear that jingle, meaning about the fact that you were able to obtain something very rewarding. So in this case, let's obtain the final stop and swap item in the game. So we got all 7 of these. Hey Banjo, we've found all the stop and swap items. Time to ditch the checklist and stash them away for use in Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. So yeah, basically, once you accomplish that, then you would be able to actually add those items to your View Totals menu. So because of this though, yeah, this is my different file, in this case my main file, just in case I can able to actually get those items. So yeah, there you go, we got 6 of those different colored eggs, in addition with the forms of the ice key. So yeah, that seems pretty awesome, all things considered, even though it's kind of a shame that you can't able to actually just use the stop and swap feature in the original N64 version due to limitations and all that stuff. But oh well, no big deal, but at least the Xbox Live Arcade version does manage to have that feature, which is always swell. So, yeah, that's about it in terms of stop and swap items as far as this game is concerned. And I think we're now moving on to the final extra thing, and as you can tell, I managed to start the new file fresh, because as you can tell, I didn't get a single jiggy right there. Meaning, about the fact that, assuming if you don't save 2D at all throughout the whole game, basically you come across into a game over cinematic cutscene. Well, assuming that if you're able to don't save 2D, because after all, we saved 2D, at the end of the game, meaning that you don't see that cutscene again, and then especially noticeable if you start the game off in Spiral Mountain, you also don't see it. So yeah, let's watch this cinematic right here. So Banjo's game ends in my tower. Turn up and I need full power. Yes, your grunty ship transform soon be complete. Help me, Banjo, I feel all funny. Baron Bird finished, Grunty wins. See, that's what happens right there. Basically, they'll just switch between those different forms, between Gruntilda and 2D. So, yeah, that's how you're essentially gonna get when it comes to the game over cinematic screen. So, yeah, it's kind of dark and depression at the same time. But anyway, so I hope you guys are able to enjoy this Let's Play. So this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog, from the likes of the Mexi Toys. And until then, up next in terms of the Banjo-Kazooie series of games of Let's Plays to deal with, up next it will be Banjo-Tooie. So yeah, this should be exciting. So yeah, I feel so sorry for 2D right now because she's now ugly and fat looking. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon enough.